Welcome to CultureVille, a talk show that shines light on urban culture here in Middle Tennessee. I'm your host, Alicia.
And I'm your host, Felicia.
Today on CultureVille, we have Miss Carolyn Galler. She's the founder of You Are Never Alone Outreach Ministry, and she's also a life coach and a motivational speaker. Miss Galler is coming by today on CultureVille to talk about her book, We Said I Do, But He Didn't, When Marriage Goes Wrong.
So sit back and relax and enjoy the show.
Welcome to CultureVille. We're glad you could join us.
Well, thank you. It's an honor being here today. I'm glad to be here.
We're so happy to have you. This book is amazing.
Well, awesome. I'm glad that you liked it.
Yes.
Yeah, so your book talks about a journey from emotional abuse, verbal abuse, and to freedom and healing. What made you decide to write the book?
Well, to be, excuse me, to be truthful, I was going through the abuse when a prophet came to me, and she just told me that I needed to find an editor. And so I was just trying to be blindsided because I was going through so much at that time. I'm like, an editor? And she said, the Lord said that whatever it is that you're going through, when you come out, you're going to be writing a #1 bestseller. And so at that point, I didn't even entertain it, didn't even really think about it anymore. The next week or so, someone else came, told me the same thing. So during the process, one of the things she did say was, once you heal. And so after years have came by, went along, the healing took place, then the Lord kind of let me know it's time for you to release. To release it so maybe someone else can be blessed, or someone else may be going through the same thing or something similar,
Right.
and it can help them.
Right. That's all they need is a word.
Just a,
Yes.
just a word.
So in the book, you talk about his determination to win you over. Looking back, do you still think you were in love?
In the very beginning, because of how he displayed himself, we only dated for a short period of time before he went to Afghanistan. So when you date from distance, and that was like 18 months, I realize now anybody can be whoever they want you to be. So I was in love because, I mean, he would send me flowers, teddy bears, just for no reason at all. And he had, before he left, he had gave me the debit card to take care of his affairs. So that let me know that he trusted me, and he knew that, well, God knew that I wasn't going to do anything with this money. So up until a certain point, yes, I definitely was in love with him because he never showed any different type of signs or any abuse or signs or anything of that nature to make me not be in love and respect him for the man that he was.
Now, with that being said, in the book, your character, that's the one that's based on your life, is Kathy. And your husband in the book is Lewis.
Yes.
So basically, like you were saying, he never showed you any type of abuse, but help us to understand the emotional abuse. In the book, it points out how Lewis would always make Kathy feel unworthy. What would you say are some of the signs of emotional abuse?
Some of the signs of emotional abuse, basically, for me, was a lot of different things. Because sometimes you can have, like I was a minister, he was a minister, and I also was a prophetess, but there's jealousy signs. And when you're on engagement, I may have had an engagement, and he found out about it. Well, he tried to get on the same engagement. Never supporting, but always a competition. Doing all types of, for him, doing the abuse, I could never do anything right. I don't care what it is, folding the towels, what it doesn't matter,
Always
the
an
least little
argument,
thing,
something.
there's a little nitpicking of something, and it's only to discredit you and to make you feel less worthy, of yourself.
It was more of a head-butting versus a teamwork.
Always, yes, definitely.
teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes,
though,
it does. And
right?
it could have went a lot smoother.
Yes, especially in a marriage.
Definitely in a marriage.
You expect to get married,
Yes,
and
become
this is your
one.
partner. Exactly.
Yes,
We're
yeah.
supposed to make everything work out together.
Yes.
If not, find common ground.
Yes.
Right.
But yeah.
And it's
Sometimes-
not in a unique situation, so we can easily find ourselves in toxic relationships.
Yes.
So, like, what would you say to someone watching who is not sure how to get out? What would be your advice for them?
To be truthful, to pay attention. When signs come at you from that person, don't just he just in a bad mood today, or just try to dismiss it, because that's what we do a lot of time. We try to rationalize, we try to make excuses for that person because we really don't want to believe what we see. And whatever you see is truly who they are and what they are. So for me, I would tell anyone, be careful. Take your time, spend time with that person. Don't just, just get caught up. Try to leave the flesh out of it for sure. Because when you put the flesh and the emotions and all that in there, then you're not going to see the real deal. And just pay attention to every detail, because if they had issues with I just say make excuses, well, I don't like my mom because of this or that. Then if there's an issue with their parents, then there's probably going to be an issue with you, because how a man respects his mom is how he's going to respect you.
Right.
And that's important. You need history. You truly need to get to know a person before you really walk across that aisle and say, I do. Because we did have counseling, but the marriage counseling is just the basic. And guess what? They still can lie doing counseling,
Right.
just like he did. So
Yes, so that is actually a good point, because you said, try to spend time with that person and try to leave the flesh out of it. But that's so hard when you're in a relationship, especially if they fine. Like, oh my goodness,
Yes,
this man is
yes.
fine, Lord. How am I
Yes.
supposed to, not involve the flesh? But do you recommend couples living together before marriage?
you know what? To be truthful to you, I don't. The only reason I don't is because of the belief of the church, and we're not supposed to. We're not supposed to. That's a sin. But I think that if you have values yourself, and you know what your values are, and you should not step outside of your values. Just for me now, if someone came along because of the values I have, no, we're not going to sleep together. I don't care how fine you are.
Right.
And you're going to believe in what we're going to be on the same page. So it just depends on, to me, what your values are, because I know they say, if you live with someone, you get to know them and blah, 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 blah. But sometimes that still can be a front, just to have y'all get together, cohabitate together, and truly not move forward in being the man and woman of God that God wants you to be. It's just a setup because it's easy for him. Because some people, they'll play on that. They need somewhere to stay. Okay, she already got a house. Sheep's in wool clothes. So you just have to be really careful. One thing I have learned really is the word say, to guard your heart. Our heart it's the main line.
Definitely.
And to give your heart to a person or a friend or even family, you have to really guard your heart, because once your heart get broken, there's a lot of things that you go through.
Right.
And some of them can just torment you for the rest of the life.
Absolutely.
You don't even receive the healing. It can mess up your life.
So looking back, what would you have done differently, and where do you think your mind was that you didn't do things differently at that time?
Well, for me, it had been some years before I had been married. And for me, I went by his actions. I went by one thing I would never do again, and that's a long-distance relationship. And that's because they can be whoever you want them to be. They can pray good over the phone, whatever it is that I wanted, especially on the ministry side. Oh, he was that and more. And so, but he could do that from a distance. And I should have waited and spent that quality time, because I would have said, oh, he don't like to go to church, or whatever the case may be.
So the book, we said I do, but he didn't. So what did he not do?
We said I do. When you say I do, that's a strong commitment. That means that y'all gonna ride and die together.
Right.
But he didn't, because during the course of the marriage, he lied. to things that had already been put in place, to things, to the marriage vows by cheating and creating a child. You know, it's just one thing after the other after the other. So, of course, by him doing those things, that means he didn't.
Absolutely. Totally agree with that.
Definitely. So how long were you guys married for those?
We might have been married, but it doesn't mean we were together.
Right.
Because sometimes people prolong divorces and they try to put it on you for whatever reason. So it was almost a total of 3 years.
So were you guys actually separated, living in different households, or are you just saying that even though you guys were married, being in the same household with so much chaos, you didn't feel like you were?
You know, in the beginning, we had agreed to be in the same household. And then when he got the opportunity to go to another base that we didn't agree upon, he said that he wasn't going to do. So when he immediately, the day after, when we were on our way to the honeymoon, let me know that he lied, that he is going to be going to that base. Right there, that caused a wedge between us because you lied. You know, our home, we already had made out how we want to run, what we were going to do, where we're going to live. So therefore, that made us be separate because I couldn't be there where he was, miles and miles away, because it ended up not working out that way.
So within the book, what essentials did you place in here for the healing and, you know, for someone to be able to accept freedom again? What kind of essentials did you put in the book?
There's a chapter in there that deals about how you can starting all over again. That may not be the exact title, but it tells you how to start over again because you got to forgive yourself, because sometimes when we get in those abusive relationships, we have the tendency to just blame us. Oh, it's my fault. Oh, you know, because you think about all the things you could have, should have done that you didn't do. So you have to forgive yourself, but you also got to forgive the person that abused you. And then once you do that, because without forgiveness, you can't move forward first. And so you got to do the forgiveness step. And then after forgiveness, just pray and just ask God to help your heart, to give you strength, so you won't be bitter at every man or every woman that comes into your life. You won't have that baggage because you'll be set free, because eventually you will be set totally free, especially once you have broken all those ties and all those, when you to the point where he can call you 100 times and you don't even pick up the phone. You know, hey, I'm coming out of this.
That's beautiful.
That is. Now, some of the best advice you give in the book is not blaming yourself for past mistakes, but about learning to just really move on. Of course, it's easier said than done, but how did you learn to move on and let it go?
Well, for me, I realized, especially in this situation, you know, especially since there was a child involved, and when they even called to tell me, you know, that what he had done, I was like, okay, handle that. Go be with her. Go be with your family. I'm not your family. I'm just married to you. So apparently I wasn't, you know, that important for you to hold on to your vows to. You were made a child. And I just have to let it go. Some things you just have to know when it's time to let it go and quit. No matter, did he come back over and over again calling, you still my wife and all of that? Yeah. But okay, I can be your wife all day long, but I'm still not going to be with you.
Yes. So that, for those who don't know, what she's referring to is in the book, Kathy or Lewis actually stepped out on his wife, Kathy, and had a baby by his mistress.
Lewis just out here gaslighting people. It's crazy.
Now, also, from reading the book, I can tell that Lewis was a master manipulator. He knew what to say. He knew what to do.
Yes.
He knew how to say it, you know. So there was an incident where he was on the phone with his brother. Again, God brought this to you, where you overhear a conversation about your car. And Lewis is getting ready to take your vehicle. And you're like, oh no, this is not about to happen. Like, you literally jump into survival mode.
Yes.
So when you heard that conversation, and we know, you know, what happens, you go to the DMV, put the title in your name. I mean, but when you heard that conversation, initially, how did you feel?
I felt portrayed, because when he initially purchased the vehicle, he didn't want me. He was like, I don't want my name on the title. You know, it's yours. And then when I heard this scheme that he's plotting, I'm like, oh my gosh, he lied. You know, so it was really a hurtful thing, because I'm like, now he's trying to take something else from me. we had decided that we would get a divorce. And he had paid me because I told him I need X amount of money because he was trying to, he had withheld my money from me. He had started that tactic as well. And so after then, one night after we filed the paperwork, so on and so forth, he called me crying, just saying, the Lord is whooping me. The Lord's whooping me. And I'm like, okay. He said, no divorce, no divorce. And so I'm like, what do you want me to do? I said, that's between you and the Lord. So come to find out, he went and canceled the divorce. But I was at that point there because I was tired. It didn't mean that I just knew that at that point I had went on and got a job because he was doing the manipulation with the money. So I knew that I had to go on and kick into survival mode. And so after then, especially then when the child came forth, of course, that was a no-brainer.
Intentional.
Yes.
Everything was done intentional. And in this book is so many different scenarios in one. Like so many, it's like you've been through so much, so many different situations, from the arguing in the house every day, from people taking from you, from people lying to you, and I mean, it is traumatizing. It can be traumatizing if you allow it. So what would you say to any young women out there right now that's like 16, 17 years old with their boyfriends? They think they're in love and they play and fight with them and, hit on them right now at a young age. What will you install into a young woman?
Into any young person that's out there dating, that's a behavior. And once they start the hitting or the picking or even calling you out your name, those are signs. Those are signs because even if they're doing those things can go to escalate. Because if they get mad, how high are they going to go? How hard are they going to hit you? And so you need to pay attention and not oversee it as, oh, we're just playing. No, it's not just playing. As I say, warning signs are always visual to people, men and women, whichever way it may be, when you're dating. And you need to pay attention to the signs because they're there. You pay attention to traffic signs. You pay attention to all these other signs that we have to obey. So pay attention to the signs of human nature, because those are truly warnings that's coming before you get too far embedded or too far into a situation or a relationship.
Like gut instincts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, what we can say is that Lewis tried. He tried, such as signing you guys up for a marriage retreat that was supposed to be fun and relaxing and a retreat that turned out to be a complete disaster.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about that?
And
where were you guys at that point in the marriage?
Well, to be truthful, the child hadn't came at this point. And so he was like, well, we're going to really try to make this thing work. So we went to the marriage retreat, and it was a disaster because I could even tell the night before we had our first session, he was talking to someone on the phone. And my spirit said, he's plotting something. So at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, he gets up to go back to the base. When I knew he was supposed to be off for these days for the marriage retreat. So he didn't even show up for breakfast. I'm sitting there by myself, everybody else with their wives, the military men with their wives, and I'm just sitting at the table by myself. And one of his corporals or whatever came over and was like, where is Lewis? And I'm like, he said he had work. He said he didn't have any work because I made sure that he had nothing to do for this whole marriage retreat. So he just validated what I thought. So after the breakfast and I went to the session and finally he showed up. But he was just disrespectful. And I'm like, you're just going through the motions. You're not really wanting to rectify this marriage. Because then when we do our classes, because he's so competitive, how couples do, their scores and stuff. And if we got a low score on something, oh my gosh, you would have thought, yes, because we didn't win.
Yeah. And that wasn't what you guys were there for.
No.
It was just a part of the retreat, basically.
Yes.
But he was just so busy. We have to be this perfect couple, at least in front of people.
Yes, definitely.
That when people were seeing, okay, they're getting this low score, and we thought you were picture perfect, it's definitely a problem. And I think To me, that kind of said it spoke to his spirit. Basically, if I can't be this picture perfect person, husband, then people are going to get to know the real me, and I don't need them to know that.
Yes.
So I definitely, I thought that was very, very interesting. And then I later on find out other things that happened, throughout reading the book, and I started to understand.
Lewis was having a lot of behaviors.
Definitely.
He was having a lot of behaviors.
Yes, definitely.
And that's why I said, like, a lot of people can relate to this book, young and old, because the situations that you had to deal with, I mean, that it's an everyday base for some people.
Yes, that's true.
Like, people have to deal with this every day, and some don't even realize if it's gaslighting or if it's verbal abuse. It's because I know some women, if a man says something to them, they react in that same manner. So if she strikes out at him, he's going to strike out at her. And if he strikes at her, she strikes back at him. And they can actually fight and it be over, but they think it's cool because I'm not going to let you beat me up, whatever. And they back together and they're doing it next week in front of company. Like, when is it okay to say, look, I shouldn't be fighting you?
That's true.
Yeah, that's not right.
Like, why are we up here sore for no reason? It's ridiculous.
Not until their behavior change. And they realize that's not what you're supposed to do.
Right.
In a relationship or marriage.
Now, amidst a couple of some of the arguments, Lewis was upset and he said women are stupid. Blatantly, women are stupid. So when he said that, even his sisters are stupid, how did you feel? Like, did something click, like this man really has some serious mental issues?
Hello?
Or was it the fact that, he's just upset, he's just saying it out of anger? Like, how did you feel?
I was livid. I was driving and I was speedingly. Because when he said that, I'm like, what in the world did you just say? He put everybody into the box. He just didn't put me in the box. He said women.
Oh, that's mom and everybody.
So
That's Mary and
when
everybody.
that went off, it was just like, my head was just like, what the world going on with this man? What are you really saying?
Exactly.
And we'll leave it there.
Oh my goodness, yes. And it's so funny because Lewis was very into the Bible. He knew the Bible. And every time you would challenge him, he would try to throw a scripture or a word or something God has told him into your face. And being that you're such a spiritual woman yourself, like, how did that take a toll on you? Because you know that God is not going to allow and wants you as his child to go through such abuse. So did that ever just take a toll on you or a toll on your faith or anything?
Not on my faith, because I knew that he had issues and even spiritual issues with demonics. And so therefore, because I knew to pray against it, I tried to pray against it, I would minister to him all the time, and he knew it. And God would even, would come to him and tell him different things, but he just wouldn't listen. Because sometimes when you get comfortable in sin, that's all you know. Definitely.
Right.
And you're also a life coach. So can you explain to us what is a life coach?
A life coach is just like a coach that's when you're playing basketball. They coach you to the next level. Yes. They try to help you exceed to your highest potential. And so dealing with different, especially spiritual life coaches, some people have a walk of life that they don't understand spiritually. And so you try to help and direct them and guide them to where their potential, their goal, where they're wanting to go.
Right.
And you just...
Some of the techniques you can advise on of getting out of a bad relationship and getting over it.
For one, you have to know where you are. Even with finances, you need to know, how much money am I making? What is it going to take for me to move out? What is going to be, because some people have to escape. What is my escape plan? Am I going to have to go to a rape abuse center first and then move from there to freedom with me and my children? So you have to have a route. You got to have just like a roadmap. You got to know where you're going. Because if you just blunder and do stuff, you're going to be back in the same place because you're going to end up still dependent on them. Right. And so doing that process, knowing where you're going, where you're headed, the purpose, and that is safety, and to make sure you get out of harm's way, you and your children. You just have to. You can't let your financial situation or nothing keep you there, keep you holding back when you're in harm's way. You have to just go.
Right. And all of that is available now, though. Someone is going to get a lesson out of this. Somebody that did not know, hey, I can really just think differently.
Right.
Yes.
And I can get out of this. And we appreciate you coming to.
So where can people reach you for more information for like life coaching sessions, more info about your book, how to order your book? Let us know where we can find you.
If you want to get in contact with me, you can go to my website, youareneveraloneoutreach.com. On there will be a phone number, also an email address, and you can contact me there for life coachings, or if you need prayer or just need someone to talk to, because you're definitely not alone. The book, you can purchase it on Amazon.com. Well, in the back of the book, there's many different journal notes, and there's something positive under each one of them. So I'm going to choose, let the past stay behind you. That is a sentence within itself, let the past stay behind you. Because each and every day we are given a new day. And so if we're given a new day, we have to move forward. We can't go behind. We can't go back to the past. Even in life, when you've had disappointments, you had whatever the case may be, even sicknesses or whatever it is, when you were healed or delivered, you have to move forward. So just remember, keep your mindset on the things that are before you and stop looking back to the things that were behind you, because that's why they are behind, not in front of you. You have great destiny, you have great victory, and you have a lot to still live. No matter what you've been through, you still can move forward and know that you have purpose. So as I say, let the things behind you stay exactly where they are, behind you.
Galler. This is Miss Carolyn Galler, and she is here to talk about her book, We Said I Do, But He Didn't, When Marriage Goes Wrong. Thank you so much, Miss Carolyn, for joining us. This was a great interview.
Awesome.
I loved it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.